Field of the Cloth of Gold was a diplomatic summit and festival between English King Henry VIII and Francois I of France. It was organized by Cardinal Wolsey, who at the time was Henry's right-hand man. The event took place between June 7, 1520 and June 24th. It was designed to strengthen the bond between England and France. Our thesis is that the Field of the Cloth of Gold was a major diplomatic failure due to political and social factors such as the Holy Roman Empire's attack on France and the general distrust between the two countries. It cost both countries dearly in terms of economics. However, if it had gone correctly, many things would have gone differently. Socially, the traditional distrust between Frenchmen and Englishmen was too strong for a single banquet to overcome. The two nations had been attempting to cut each other to pieces for centuries now, and Henry dreamed of conquesting glory in France. He admired the English victories at Agincourt and wished to find glory on the battlefield. Politically, Henry VIII wished rather for an alliance with the Holy Roman Empire, the real power at the time. At the helm was Emperor Charles V. Charles was a new emperor, having just been elected to the throne and being just 19 years old. However, he controlled vast swaths of Europe. Both Henry and Francois had a treaties alliance with him, but Cardinal Wolsey was determined to strengthen the bond between England and France. In addition, Charles was Henry's nephew-in-law. Henry's wife Catherine was Charles' aunt. Both Catherine and Cardinal Wolsey pushed for an alliance with Charles, so after the Field of the Cloth of Gold, when Charles attacked France, so did Henry. Economically, the sum of the lavish partying was great. In modern terms, it cost nearly $19 million. When Cardinal Wolsey fell from favor in the late 1520s, one of the main reasons was the lavish spending required. Some of the events that would have gone differently if the treaty lasted include the ink split of the church. For example, if the summit had gone correctly, it could have been prevented. So much bloodshed, so much conflict, so much religious persecution could have been avoided. If it had lasted, the American colonies' revolt could have been quelled and beaten, since French aid was essential in their success. So much could have gone differently. It could have lasted for centuries, into modern days, or it could have broken apart within decades. But of course, in our timeline, nothing came out of it. Today we delve into the reasons and failures.
Background. Cardinal Wolsey was a man who wanted world peace. In 1518, he designed the Treaty of Universal Peace, designed to outlaw conflict between all Christian nations. Next, he turned to England's historic enemy, France, to organize a peace. Both Henry and Francois were young at the height of their power. Both had seen military success and begrudgingly admired each other and agreed to meet to organize a peace. A neutral location between English territory and a French town was selected for the summit. In preparation for the event, the French organized a simply massive number of workers, and a temporary gold palace was erected. An army of tent makers began making an array of tents, the most spectacular being a 120-foot tall golden tent. Sadly, it blew down before the summit began. On May 31st, 1520, Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon boarded a ship in Dover and landed in English-occupied Calais.
There were many activities during the 18 days of this festival, including jousting, horseback combat, and infantry combat. Prior to the festival, the two kings had decided not to compete against each other. Even though both were great warriors, the organizers feared having the two kings face off against each other would cause insult to the loser's nation. As a result, the two kings fought together against swarms of volunteers. As one story goes, despite the agreement not to fight each other, in an attempt to outdo Francois, Henry challenged him to a wrestling match, even though Francois was from a region famous for its wrestlers. To win, one king would throw the other to the ground. Francois won the match, much to the dismay of King Henry. Humiliated, he then showed off his archery and challenged Francois to do the same, even though the French king couldn't even draw his longbow. If this had truly happened, then the political consequences would have been incalculable. Both kings would have had a grudge against each other, which would have hindered diplomatic progress. Much fine food was also served. Records show that the English brought 266,000 liters of alcohol, some of which would have gone into the wine fountain outside of the temporary palace. Food supplies included 98,000 eggs, 2,000 sheep, 13 swans, and 3 porpoises. On June 23rd, Cardinal Wolsey held Mass in a temporary chapel. The two courts sat together, and the choirs of the two nations took turns singing. A magnificent dragon flew over the site. The dragon was also a kite that was pulled by a chariot. The dragon was designed to combine the English dragon emblem with the French salamander. Of course, all good times cannot last, and on June 24th, the Field of the Cloth of Gold came to an end. Before Henry departed, the two kings exchanged gifts. These gifts included horses, caskets, and much more.
Though the event left a lasting impression between the two kings, not as much was done politically. Due to Anglo-French distrust, the agreement soon fell apart. Soon afterwards, Cardinal Wolsey organized an alliance with Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor. Charles soon attacked France, and so did Henry. Despite all the lavish partying, extravagant dining, and friendly sporting events, the distrust between the two countries proved too hard to overcome on one occasion. All the sportsmanship really did was delay the next round of conflict between the two nations.
Or, as historian Francis Hackett said, it never occurred to the thousands and thousands of exciting spectators that this gorgeous show was the prelude of a European war which would last 38 years and cost 500,000 men.